Hello and welcome to Knowledge is Power. I'm going to dive right into this topic here because I believe it's a very important one for our neighbors and our citizens here in Port Orange, and that's flooding. Okay, we're not here in this purpose right now to point fingers as to why it happened. I do have some opinions on that. I'll cover that later. But I wanted to discuss a notice that the city recently put out in regards to $21 million that they received through funding through Transform 386, which is it's a grant disaster recovery program that's funded by HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development. So they're receiving this money, and they've decided that they have four key areas that they're going to disperse this money towards based on this notice that they put out. And I wanted to go over these areas with you. I'm going to discuss, I'm going to show you some maps, kind of the ideas of what they have going on. I will put it out there that most all of these projects are in the planning phases. So don't necessarily take them to heart. Just know that the city is there doing something, because I know that a lot of you, I see it on social media. I live in a flood prone neighborhood, and I hear it and I see it and I read it, that a lot of you believe that the city isn't doing anything. And it may appear so on the surface, but there's a lot of tangibles and a lot of logistics that go into some of these projects, and it takes time. So I wanted to go over these things with you so that way you can pass them on to either your friends, family, neighbors, whatever it may be that may or may not have been affected by the flooding, and kind of maybe put minds at ease about the situation. So we'll go right into an area that is Sugar Forest, and that is off of Madeline Avenue. Now I'm going to pull up a map here and kind of discuss the project that they are doing for you. Okay, so the Sugar Forest project is going to be done in two phases. This area right here is Sugar Forest. Let me get a highlighter and kind of point out what they're going to be doing. So the first phase is going to be installing a stormwater pond and a pump station right here on city-owned land. This is the corner of Pepper Hill Road and Madeline Avenue. The blue square there is the stormwater pond, and this triangle right here is the pump station that they're going to be adding. Also being done in phase one is 8,000 feet of piping here to divert the water towards the Halifax River. Phase two is going to be adding another pump station here to attach to that to move more water towards the Halifax River. This triangle here is another new pump station. They don't have that listed in the proposal, but it is listed on the city. So it's never a bad thing to have another pump station here. So you could see how they're wanting to move the water away from the Sugar Forest area and towards the Halifax. Where along the Halifax in this area that the outflow is going to be, I'm not sure. You can't really get too detailed on this map. And, not to mention it's still in the planning phases. So that's the idea of what's happening in the Sugar Forest area. So that project, it's a total estimated cost of $18.6 million. Now that obviously would take up most of the 21 million. So they're only allocating about 7.2, $7.3 million towards that project. They have secured another 3 million through different legislative appropriations and stuff like that. And they're working on applying for other grants. Either way, the project is a large one. It's not an easy one to do, as you could see. They're working with the engineers and the planners in the cities to determine the best course of action and the right amount of time. Now they don't have a start date. It is to be determined because it is in the planning phases. So just be patient with it. Just know that there is a plan to cure some of this issue that's happening in that area. Another area that they have pointed out on that notice is a Sleepy Hollow area, and I'm going to pull up a map and kind of show you what that project entails right here. Okay, now the Sleepy Hollow project, that's a completely different idea that they have going on here. I'll highlight these areas as well. This area has been hit pretty hard with Ian and Milton. I know Sleepy Hollow was, most of that neighborhood was underwater, but this is also going to help the surrounding areas as well. So to start, they're going to work on combining two large ponds right here. So these are behind Sleepy Hollow and behind those businesses along Nova Road. There's a large stormwater pond. There's a smaller one next to it. Now, it had a berm between the two. I don't know if that berm was breached or it was opened intentionally, but they plan on removing that and combining the two ponds to make one very large stormwater retention pond. You can see that these purple lines right here, these are new connections that they're going to be adding in. This is great. I mean, it's coming along Nova Road right here. This is going between Publix and Sleepy Hollow, and then along Jackson. All the circles here, those are manhole covers, I would assume, for access to make sure that they stay clean and everything like that. Within Sleepy Hollow, you can see that they're adding some new piping in there and additional manhole covers to make sure, again, assuming to keep the pipes clean and to divert the water, which is ultimately going to bring it to these two large ponds that they're going to combine to make one. Now, the additional thing that they're going to be adding, which is the positive, and this is where the water gets removed, is this purple line. You can see it goes all the way down over here towards Rose Bay. Its outflow is going to be somewhere around Rose Bay. They do mention in the proposal they do not know where that outflow is going to be, but that is the idea, is it's going to take it towards Rose Bay. And this is going to be the force main here, and this triangle, just like in Sugar Forest, is going to be a pump station to divert that water away from Sleepy Hollow. They're saying by doing this project here that it's going to remove 90 homes from the floodplain, which is amazing. That's a lot of water then in renegotiating of pipes that they are doing to help the flood victims in this area around the Sleepy Hollow neighborhood. Now, this project is estimated to be about 21, $22 million. Again, that would certainly take up most of that money that they receive from Transform 386. Only about $10.5 million is going to go towards that project. Again, they're going to try to get grants and other funding, and if not, it's going to come out of the city's budget to cover the rest. But that is a large project and a large undertaking. No timeline on that one either, because they are, again, in the planning phases. Okay, Sleepy Hollow is close to me. I do live in Sleepy Hollow myself, so I understand what those residents are going through. I mentioned before that we were fortunate with our home, but to know that there is a plan that the city has in place to kind of cure these issues is certainly a good feeling to have when you do live in the city. So let's move on to the next section that they're talking about, and that's the Portona area, which is kind of over by the US 1, Charles Street, Herbert Street area. And I'm going to pull up a map for that one to show you what they have going on there. It's a smaller project, but I want to pull that up for you. Now in the Portona area, they're doing a couple things different. Now this area is between Charles and Herbert, closer to the railroad tracks in US 1 here. So they're doing a little bit different than they did in Sugar Forest and Sleepy Hollow. Let me highlight those areas for you. To start, they're going to be putting in some retention ponds too. There's going to be a smaller retention pond here right along the railroad tracks, and then there's going to be a larger retention pond here that is closer to Herbert Street. Now, these are going to be put on land that needs to be acquired. The county is going to contact these homeowners, and from what I gather, most of the land is vacant, and they're going to try to do an acquisition of this property so they can put these retention ponds in for this area. Also, they're going to be putting in some larger piping for the water to be removed from this area. Now, this is an older area of Port Orange, so obviously some of the infrastructure is a little bit outdated, so they're going to be updating that. And by doing that, they're also going to be putting these inlets. All these squares, these are going to be your drain inlets that are going into this piping, which is a way to remove the water off of these streets and divert them towards these retention pond areas. Now, this is called a new control structure. I don't know what that is. If I had an assumption, it kind of helps maintain the water level of these retention ponds. I'm not certain. I'm sure that's going to be something that's going to be discussed a little bit further down the line. But this is the idea of what's happening in the Portona area of Port Orange, which, again, an older area, they've been prone to flooding, and these are only positive things that are going to help the area and the homes that are around them. Now, obviously, that is a smaller project than Sugar Forest and Sleepy Hollow, as I mentioned, but it's still a project that needs to be done nonetheless, and it does help quite a few homes in that area with future flooding and try to mitigate the problem there. There is another one that's listed on that notice. It's a Powers Avenue flood management program. There's no map or anything like that that I could find, but I'm kind of break it down to you what it is. I'm going to read it here for you. It's a land acquisition to construct a new pond, increasing stormwater retention capacity for the surrounding area, including FPL substation, and help reduce flooding near Spruce Creek Road and Dunlawton Avenue. As mentioned with the Portona area, they are going to need to acquire land for some of these projects, and the county is going to contact homeowners, like I said, to acquire this land, and this is no different. So this is going to help with the along Dunlawton there, with how quickly that fills up with water and along Spruce Creek. So that is another project that is happening now. Again, the notice only points out 4 areas that are being covered in this, and there are a total of 9 on the website that are also in the planning phases. So let me read those off to you. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail about these, which I will at another time, but I just wanted to cover what the notice that the city put out regarding the Transform 386 funding. But here are some other things that the city has listed on their website about planning for the flooding issue that we have. So there's a Virginia Monroe pump station being put in. There's a Sweetwater Hills drainage improvement section. There's a Cambridge Canal improvement section, a Commonwealth Pump Station and Outflow Improvement Section, a Southwinds Pond Outflow Improvement Section, and a Spruce Creek Road Drainage Improvement Section. Now, these are all over, of course, the city of Port Orange, the majority of which on the east of 95, which I do believe had the most flooding problems throughout the storm. So, again, I'm not here to point fingers as to why or who or whatever it may be that caused the flooding before. I do have my opinions, but again, we'll just leave those to the side. You got to remember that the city, as it grows, it outgrows its infrastructure. It outgrows its drainage. It outgrows its sewer system, and those things need to be updated. Unfortunately, storms came along to expose those items and expose the weaknesses that we do have around the city, but just know that the city is doing what they can with what they have to move forward with projects to help alleviate this and prevent it in the future. As I mentioned, the fact that Sleepy Hollow area is going to have 90 homes that are going to be removed from the floodplain as a result of that project is huge. That kind of shows you that the projects that they're doing are substantial and they're going to make a difference, but we have to get there, okay? They don't just slap $21 million in the city and projects start tomorrow. Engineers need to be involved. The planners need to be involved. You got to get contractors out there. The logistics of getting it all planned out is extensive. So be patient. Know that the city is there. And if not, go to your city meetings. Know that there is information out there. Don't just assume that because someone's upset and they point a finger at something that is the reason where we are. Just know that there is positive information. There is positive outlooks. There is a future for us here in Port Orange that may not involve flooding all the time every time a storm comes. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Pass this along to your family, your friends, your neighbors, ones that may be affected. Let them know that there's information out there, there's planning out there, and there's projects out there coming your way. So just know that you can go to the city's website, port-orange.org. All this information that I just showed you, the maps and everything, are on the website. It does break it down for you. You can look at the other projects that the city has going on as well and kind of see if that is affecting your area or helping your area, I should say. So also, you can go to transform386.org. That's where the grant for this notice that they put out is coming from. So there are things that you can check out. If you have any questions about anything that I've covered today, or you want to learn something new about what's going on, just feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to cover them for you. I really appreciate you guys listening. And just remember, knowledge is power.